Hi, I'm Jane Rudolph.
And I'm Monsignor Charles Minor.
I'm Father Joe Glass. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
And welcome to our first official fall holiday. It's Christopher Columbus Day tomorrow.
And for us crossword puzzle fans, we all know the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria.
That's true, we certainly do.
And I say have a great weekend, enjoy it, celebrate, but don't fall off the edge of the earth.
Let's talk about what's coming up tonight, okay? We're going to hear from Father Frank Barshevsky in the Viewpoint segment, and this is one that you've asked for again. He answers the question, why me?
I have a nice interview for you to see because Archbishop Foley came by here at the end of the summertime. I had a great opportunity to sit and talk with him. I want you to hear him too.
Joe Swope will be returning with the Arts Review segment. Tonight he'll be taking a look at the baseball movie, 8 Men Out.
I guess it was a few years ago here on Reel to Reel that we aired a program on how the inner city parish is diminishing and then the suburban parishes are really flourishing.
It seems to be the trend, but tonight you're going to see that some of the inner city parishes are discovering that though their material wealth may be diminishing, their real richness and their people.
St. Francis de Sales Parish in Philadelphia's inner city may not look like the American church of the future, but many contend it is. Like the neighborhood in which it's located, it is multicultural. That is, many of its people are immigrants, coming from a variety of nations. Father Thomas Hilferty is pastor of St. Francis.
There are like 19 or 20 countries that our children come from. All of Southeast Asia, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Africa, many of the countries there.
Most of the ethnic families at St. Francis are political refugees who have come to the United States to escape oppression in their homelands. They arrive here with very little, but with needs that are many.
The average physical needs. They need a place to stay. They need furniture, they need clothes, they need that type of assistance. They also come with questions. In other words, will I survive? And they need somebody to say it's okay.
Okay, well, if you can get that for me on your run on Thursday, I'd really appreciate it.
Meet Betty Allen, a devoted parishioner and full-time volunteer who's been helping newcomers since 1975.
To them, it's kind of a maze, the newcomers. Sometimes the other people that have been here help them with it. Sometimes they come to me, and I take them to the gas company and open up the accounts and that sort of thing. See, they're able to because they're on public assistance, so that, you know, it's just helping them through the bureaucracy.
These days, Betty works primarily with Ethiopian refugees resettling in Philadelphia. She says that although this urban parish may not have the material wealth of many suburban parishes, it's enriched by its people, who share with each other their culture, their dreams, and even their personal belongings.
They share their clothes, they share their furniture, and I think it's enriching from the fact that when you go to church here, you see all kinds of people, all different people from all nations. These same people are in the neighborhood. They're not like coming in as token people. They're here, they're living here. So it has to have enriched it.
Father Hilferty also sees the multicultural church as a healthy church.
Our approach is not to make them totally American. Our approach is it's okay to be whatever you are and live here and bring us your background, your culture. We need it. It'll help us. So we're not interested in changing people. Here, we're interested in helping them worship, teaching them, clothing them, getting them a place to live. But not on the terms that they have to become, quote, like us. Please stay as you are. We need people like you.
But while the American parishioners benefit from people of different ethnic backgrounds, the refugees are trying to become more American.
They're very anxious, really, to become part of America. I mean, all of the ones that we've gone through filling out the applications for citizenship. And they're even changing their names to American names. It's almost a shame that they're losing some of their culture, because I think there's a lot in their culture that's so good.
The refugees are very much interested in an education. They have had a dream to come to America, and when they get here, they want to make a life for themselves. So their parents are interested in doing that, and they are interested in studying, and they do well.
Sister Constance Marie is an Immaculate Heart of Mary nun and principal of St. Francis School. She says learning English is top priority for most new immigrants.
Most of them don't speak any English. Others have limited English proficiency. So we attempt from the very beginning to take those students and work with them to learn enough language skills to be able to survive in the classroom.
The Cow family knows how to survive. They came to America in 1981 after escaping the killing fields of Cambodia. The family first lived in this modest apartment, just blocks away from St. Francis School. The children enrolled, and since then, life has gotten better. But Naylene Cow still remembers her family's dangerous escape.
We had to walk at nighttime. We couldn't walk during the daytime at all, because then they would see us. But at nighttime, we would start to walk, and then all night. And the water was up to our waist, and we had to carry the clothes, some food, and all across the water. And the path was hard, because there were a lot of... and then we saw the dead bodies and everything along the way, injured, because the war was still going on.
For a while, my surprise was that the children smiled. I thought that was great, because they must know. Maybe they don't remember what the family went through, but they know what the family went through. And to see them smiling, laughing, realize the horrible experiences some of these people have had, it's unimaginable.
In the short time they've been here, the Cows have saved enough money to buy this comfortable home in the suburbs. Naylene is now a nursing student at Hahnemann Hospital, and her younger brothers are also doing well in school. They've achieved their academic success through hard work, determination, and a little help from their friends at St. Francis de Sales.
The inspiration that we get from the people, all of those people who helped us, and because of their kindness, and makes us think that, no, we're not all alone. There are others out there who are helping, as long as you're really working hard. One of the reasons that I decided to be a nurse is I saw those people as I came across the camp, and I saw them needing help. So after I graduate from college, it's my dream, I like to go there and probably volunteer working there for a couple of years or something. But first I would have to help my families first, help get my brothers through college and everything.
Just as Naylene has been given help along the way, she now wants to help others. A spirit of giving that was nourished at a small multi-ethnic parish in Philadelphia.
The church is one body of Christ with many members. And as St. Paul said, the hand can't say to the eye, I don't need you. Nor can the eye say that to the hand. So it's most appropriate for the church to be involved, because all these people, with their difference of language, culture, ethics, and all that, are part of the one body of Christ. It's not a choice we have.
Good to see St. Francis de Sales Parish, and it's really just one example of a very vibrant faith community in the inner city of Philadelphia.
Speaking of Philadelphia, a hometown boy does good and comes home to Reel coming up next.
Since 1981, Reel to Reel has been proclaiming the good news by bringing you stories of Christian faith in action. We do it by roaming the Delaware Valley, searching for people of faith, hope, and charity.
But like all modern media, it is an expensive proposition. If you're a new viewer, or if you've enjoyed Reel to Reel for many years, we'd like to thank you for watching and invite you to participate by actively supporting the show.
With costs rising all around us, we need your financial support. A donation of $5, $10, $20, or whatever you can send will help to keep us on the air.
Send your contributions to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103. And thank you.
Hello, I'm Gary Maddox. When I played with the Phillies, reading the pitcher gave me the advantage. But life is not a game. To give yourself the advantage, you have to be able to read. To get the help you need, call the Mayor's Commission on Literacy at 686-8652. Learn to read. It will change your life.
In 4 years' time, he's gone far away from home, but he never left us, and he can't leave us because Archbishop John Foley belongs to us. Archbishop Foley, it's 4 years since you were ordained a bishop and took on your work as social communications for the church. And one of the nicest things we ever have done in our Reel to Reel in our local Delaware Valley was to talk about and show your ordination of bishop and also to share an interview at that time. But you've been away from us. I've seen you many times since, but the first time to sit down and share with you and with our people some of the things you're doing. How are you doing and what are you doing?
Among the more interesting, I guess more visible things were the Today show that NBC did from the Vatican 3 years ago. There have been several Nightline programs, Meet the Press programs. ABC did a special on the Holy Week of Pope John Paul II, which gave us an opportunity to explain the Holy Week ceremonies and how these are really a recapitulation of our faith. And then, of course, there are the seasonal international telecasts that we do, the Midnight Mass of the Pope at Christmas, which NBC runs, the Easter Mass of the Holy Father, which ABC sometimes runs, and the Way of the Cross that the Pope has on Good Friday from the Colosseum, which is seen in other parts of the world. But about 50 nations get these telecasts, about 15 of them in English.
You know, you mentioned those great events the Holy Father's involved in. One exciting event took place in this Marian year began was the recitation of the Holy Rosary internationally. I don't demean the great liturgies the Holy Father does, but that, I think, has done more for us. Would you tell us something about that international development of the Holy Rosary recitation?
That was exciting. A production company came and said, we would like to telecast a prayer service led by the Holy Father. Well, I thought, well, the Marian year is coming up. I know the Holy Father usually doesn't consent to do anything particularly for television. He will have covered what he is doing. But we said, since, Holy Father, you do lead the Rosary on the eve or on the first Saturday of every month, perhaps in this case, because it will be the eve of the opening of the Marian year, perhaps you could do a special leading of the Rosary from the Basilica of St. Mary Major. And the responses could come from Marian shrines all over the world. So the responses came from 16 different shrines of Our Lady all over the world, from Manila, from Knock, Ireland, where you recently visited, yes, from Brazil, Paraguay, from India, from Dakar, Senegal, from Lourdes and Fatima, of course. And it was really exciting because the Holy Father led the Rosary in 5 different languages, each decade in a different language, and the responses came from those shrines all around the world in those different languages. It was the most complex telecast ever done in the history of the medium. It involved 17 points of origination, and it involved 23 satellites. And since then, a video cassette has been made of it so that individuals, yes, can remember that very precious moment. It brought the world together in prayer. And I think it reminded Catholics that there are different cultures, different outlooks, different viewpoints, different ways of expressing the faith, and yet there's a unity in faith.
Since you moved into your work now, you have to take on the universal aspect of things. Is that difficult to do, to get a universal perspective of what the church is doing? See, we do a Delaware Valley here, but now you're beyond Delaware Valley. You're all points of origination.
Well, even that rosary program indicated a diversity because Europe was somewhat reluctant to accept the program because it had some foundation paying for it, and they figured that if the government doesn't do it, then it can't be acceptable. There was universal acceptance of it in Latin America, Asia, Africa, a spiritual enthusiasm for it. In the United States, there was often more of a technical fascination with it. So to deal with those different attitudes and try to understand them is most interesting. The different ways that communications would be organized.
You made a nice nuance, Archbishop, when you said the Holy Father will not do anything specifically for communications, but he will let the communications cover anything he does. Is that good evangelization, do you think?
Well, in that way, what you see is what you get. He's completely natural. And I think his warmth is communicated, his one-on-one contact with individuals in the crowds, his concern for the poor, for the sick. He doesn't do anything as a media event. It's not a manipulative thing. And I think that sincerity and spontaneity are communicated, and in that sense, it's good evangelization because you see the Holy Father as the Vicar of Christ, the successor of St. Peter, engaged in his pastoral ministry.
Like next 4 years, what do you see, new adventures in technicalities or techniques?
Well, one thing that we're doing now is disseminating through the help of the Knights of Columbus the catechesis, the weekly talks of the Holy Father on the Creed. He gives a major talk in Italian, then he summarizes it in several languages. And we've already prepared video cassettes in English, French, and Spanish that can be used either as program inserts, they're about 5 minutes long, or can be used in upper-level high school education programs or adult education programs for clubs or in parishes, so that individuals can hear the Pope talk about creation, about the origin of the human person, and react to that. So through video cassette and through broadcasting.
Does computerization affect you much at all for the future?
Yes, it does, because we have computerized our own offices. We've developed a data bank on a number of things. For example, before the Pope goes to any country, we prepare dossier to send to the nunciatures and the bishops' conferences on everything the Pope has said about that particular country. And now we have all of that stored in a data bank, not only the biographical material, but also the topical material, so that we have this fund of knowledge available in several languages into which we can tap instantly. And I hope we can develop an international telecommunications network so that there can be communications from and to the Holy See.
The story of your life now, we're running out of time. It's always so. But you know, is there one special prayer you'd like us to pray for on Reel to Reel, on Delaware Valley, on this archdiocese?
I think our universal prayer that all may be one, and that we can have truly one world at peace under God through communications.
Is it coming closer?
I hope so. I pray so.
I pray so.
I hope that we can all be instruments in having it come about, and I hope the people who watch this program can pray that individuals will be open to the Word of God and that it will transform their lives and bring the world closer together.
Archbishop Foley, thank you so very much. I hope that our prayers join yours now and become solidifying in the great effect of Mary and Jesus bringing us peace in this world.
An alumnus of both St. Joseph University and right here at St. Charles Seminary, it's wonderful to see Archbishop Foley home once again.
When we come back, Joe Swope will be one man in to review 8 Men Out.
A long time ago, I had an abortion. At the time, I thought it was the only answer, the only solution. Then I woke up one morning with this incredible emptiness, and I started to cry, and I couldn't stop. You see, I never really dealt with the reality of my loss. Project Rachel helped me to realize God's love for me and allowed me to find forgiveness in His church and in myself.
If you need help, call Project Rachel at 609-546-8945.
We welcome your comments and suggestions and encourage you to write to us at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19103, or call us during regular business hours at 215-668-9842.
A lot of us have the day off tomorrow, so what a perfect day to go to the movies, and what a perfect time to bring back Joe Swope. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Oh, I'm just fine.
Good to have you here, Joe. I've been waiting for this review. This movie, 8 Men Out, is on my list of movies to see, but I've been waiting for your review.
Well, you're going to like it. In a summer where the Phillies provided precious few examples of how our national pastime is supposed to be played, the movie stepped in and produced a trio of baseball films. Kevin Costner's Bull Durham was a funny and endearing tribute to the minor leagues, while Mark Harmon's Stealing Home was filmed right here in Philadelphia and was a tale of finding one's own identity. But Hollywood has saved the best for last. John Sayles, the respected writer and director of such low-budget gems as The Return of the Secaucus 7 and Matewan, has hit a home run in his first major studio release, 8 Men Out. A movie that chronicles the turning point of professional baseball and the symbolic loss of innocence of a nation. 8 Men Out tells the true story of an incident so outrageous it has entered the realm of an American myth. The 1919 Chicago White Sox may have been the greatest baseball team ever put on the field, but despite their talent, the seeds were ripe for a scandal. Factions on the team hardly spoke to each other, and Sox owner Charles Comiskey was a notorious penny pincher. His players were badly underpaid as a team compared to the other teams in the league. He refused to pay for medical treatment and forced his players to play hurt. He reneged on promised bonuses. And the White Sox had even earned the nickname Black Sox before the scandal broke because Comiskey allegedly skimped on the laundry budget. Thus, when gamblers approached players to possibly throw the World Series, some did it to get back at Comiskey, some did it for financial security, and others did it just to go along with the crowd. Sayles' movie accomplishes two things. First, it chronicles the end of an era where the Americans finally shook out of their prolonged youth and began to question their values and their institutions. This is best illustrated when Sayles recreates an incident when a young boy grabs star left fielder Shoeless Joe Jackson outside of the courtroom and pleads, "Say it ain't so, Joe." Jackson has no answer. Secondly, Sayles' movie serves as an explanation, and it humanizes the heroes, the villains, and the victims of this sorry episode. Perhaps his moral is best summarized by Sox manager Kid Gleason when he says, "People are human." Sayles wraps his tale in eloquent writing, finely crafted period detail, and a marvelous, almost artistic understanding of the game of baseball. 8 Men Out is a movie about both human strength and, unfortunately, human weakness, and it's a treat for virtually any member of the family. Father, buy your ticket and take your mother.
Hey.
That's an important point. We can bring Mom to this one.
Say it is so, Joe.
It
a
is.
Good movie.
And it's nice to have you back with us, Joe. We'll see you again in a few weeks.
Okay.
Earlier in tonight's program, we had a chance to hear from St. Francis de Sales Parish, and here's some words from St. Francis de Sales. He said, "The Lord will either shield you from suffering or give you the unfailing strength to bear it."
Words of wisdom from St. Francis de Sales, and now here is Father Frank Barchevsky with some words of wisdom.
Suffering is a part of the human condition. Every human being has to suffer, either physically, emotionally, or spiritually. And that human suffering usually brings us to ask two very important questions. Why me? And why do good people suffer? In response to the first question, why me? It might be well to consider that we do have responsibility for our own actions. What we eat or drink, whether or not we exercise or smoke, for example, can certainly affect our physical well-being and whether or not pain and suffering are experienced in our own lives. The second question, why do good people suffer, puts us into direct confrontation and encounter with God and the entire mystery of human life. It leads us to think in a few Christian perspectives. First of all, we can hope and pray for deliverance from our suffering. And indeed, sometimes this does happen. We are cured. The pain leaves us. Very often, with some marked change in our own lives. We can experience human solidarity. We take care of other people and let them minister to us. It is also possible to see that we have to learn to accept a no response from God as we pray for deliverance from our suffering. The entire Scripture, both Old and New Testament, speaks to us of examples of people who had to take no for an answer. Moses and David, St. Paul, and yes, even Christ himself got a negative response in their prayer for deliverance from suffering. As we look to Jesus as our model and our example, we see that his suffering, his crucifixion, and his death ultimately ended in resurrection and glory. So we too can expect that sometime in suffering will ultimately end in an eternity of glory and happiness.
It's pretty hard to go by with the ideas of time and suffering to know that something's going to happen and give you a break later. It does require such a tremendous amount of patience to accept suffering as it is.
And a lot of faith as well.
Absolutely. A mystery, but one that all of us deal with.
Eventually. Should we talk about what's coming up next week?
I'd like to.
Okay, I know an old friend of yours is going to be on the show again. We're dealing with a lot of Monsignor's old friends. We're going to talk about the apostolate for the hearing impaired, and Sister Mary Immaculate will be here to talk about that program.
And I hope Father Tony Russo can make it. We don't know yet if he can, but I hope he does because you deserve to meet him. He deserves to meet you. But also, Father Tom Legere gives us so many insights. He has one next week for us, a special insight to religion.
Father Russo, we hope, will be our guest, but if not, we'll have somebody in that hot seat during the interview portion.
So until next week, please take care.
Goodbye, and God bless you.
Good night. See you next week on Reel to Reel.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen Travel of Media, PA. Phone area 215-565-7070.
I'm inviting you to the Women's Prayer Luncheon this Tuesday at noon.
And I'm inviting you to the Men's Prayer Breakfast this Saturday at 9 a.m.
Both events are held at the Williamson's Restaurant at City Line and Belmont Avenues.
For tickets and information, just call 215-668-HOPE.
We're going to have more women at our luncheon.
No, we're going to have more men at our prayer breakfast.
See you this Tuesday at noon.
See you this Saturday at 9 a.m.
Many people find retirement isn't as much fun as they thought it would be. Too much time on their hands, too little to do. The Retired Senior Volunteer Program has thousands of opportunities for retired executives, housewives, engineers, teachers, whatever your skills or schedule. RSVP has something to fit anyone's interests. You can do what you want, when you want to do it, and still enjoy your well-earned retirement.
What's your problem? Let's see. Let's figure this out.
You've learned a lot in your life. Share the experience of a lifetime.